The Mariners saved up as much goodwill as they could muster on Tuesday night. It started out, you were saving up a whole lot of good stuff, putting in the piggy bank. And there's this new piggyback situation that everybody's heard about. You're going to have Luis Castillo follow Bryce Miller out of the bullpen in this start. And Bryce Miller's start went so well that you didn't need Luis Castillo until late in the game. You get Luis Castillo in there. You've saved up so much goodwill. You're shutting out the White Sox. You were hitting them for a while. But then the piggy bank breaks in the ninth inning, and all your savings go everywhere, never to be found again. Welcome to the Dom Skiing Channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. And I mean, 2-1, none of these stats are going to tell the full story, to be honest. You had to watch this game to understand how much it hurt, because this is such a weird game. You almost won this game with one hit. Not that you deserved to, but you almost did. You were in the situation to do so. And then when you don't, when the White Sox scored, they 300% the amount of runs, or 200% the amount of runs that have come before that in the game in the top of the ninth inning. It's rough. So you lose 2-1. It is what it is. And I mean, Bryce Miller was awesome. He went into the sixth inning, first pitch of the sixth inning. He gives up his first hit, and then comes out after getting 2 more outs, 5 2/3 innings. Only 1 hit allowed, 7 strikeouts to 1 walk. Just 3 hard hits on 72 pitches. The Mariners allowed 2 hard hits the entire night, and the White Sox allowed 5 hard hits the entire night. So 9 hard hits between the two teams, and that is on a ball game with 284 pitches. Have we ever seen this low of a hard hit rate in a game? 9 over 284. I mean, geez. But you look at the actual average, the batting average in the game, 85. I mean, the Mariners get 1 hit in this game. It's Julio, and he scores a run in the first inning. Patrick Wisdom gets the RBI. It was a fielder's choice that scored the run. And Patrick, look at this. Even more bizarre. The Mariners had 5 hard hits. Patrick Wisdom had 3 of them, and Julio had 2 of them. I already talked about, Dan Wilson and all of these, decisions, with platoon hitting, bringing in the platoon guys, which you didn't bring in the platoon guys in this game. I talked about the piggyback situation and, some of the more analytical decisions that go against conventional wisdom of play your best guys first. Some more analytical decisions that are being made by the ball club where they say, we're going to go with the platoons because it's got better, the analytics are better on it. Like the numbers just say that this is going to work better. And that kind of becomes conventional wisdom. But then it ends up flying in the face of the fact that, you have really good hitters and you're just not using them as much. Luke Raley, for instance, right? Usually people think, I would bring in, or I would hit my best hitter every day, but that's not how it works in these days. You use your righties when you're facing a lefty like Anthony Kay. You use your righties like Connor Joe and Rob Refsnyder and Patrick Wisdom even, and then you play them against the lefties, and then once the other team brings in a righty like Tyler Davis or Brian Hudson, that's when you bring in your your left-handed pitching. Your Luke Raley's, Dom Canzones, but these guys have never tried to hit lefties. So how do you know they're bad at it? I went on Sean Collins, the Call It Like It Is podcast. So go check that out tomorrow morning. It'll be coming out on Apple and on Spotify. I need to get on Apple and Spotify myself, but talked quite a bit about this loss with him, and it was good to, it was pretty cathartic because now I'm coming in here and I'm analyzing the stats a little bit more, which is actually more effective, even though you probably want to come in here and see me be a little more upset. If you want to see that, my immediate post-game upset self, go check out Sean Collins' Call It Like It Is podcast. Now this game, it really stinks to lose. But also I want to ask the question, what is a bad loss? We talk about bad losses. Well, as a bad loss, the Angels got beat like 13-4 tonight by the A's. Is that a bad loss, or is 2-1 to the White Sox a bad loss? Where you get 1 hit in the entire game. But the answer obviously is both. But you're going to have these ebbs and flows, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, there's nothing you can do about the fact that you got one hit tonight. It's already over. Um, and especially by, this bunch of pitchers. Well, excuse me, yawning. I can understand Grant Taylor. He might be the second best reliever in baseball behind Mason Miller right now. And for the rest of this year, he's going to be stretched out to be a starter at some point. Strikes out the side in the ninth inning, when the Mariners need to get back in it. 13 pitches. How many swinging strikes did he have? I do want to see. The dude is disgusting. 4 swinging strikes on 13 pitches. This dude might be the second best reliever in baseball behind Mason Miller right now. Lance Barstowski said as much last week, and a video it was either this week or last week. But Grant Taylor's awesome. But again, that's not the problem. The problem is that you got one hit off of Anthony Kay, nothing off Tyler Davis and Brian Hudson. And, the Mariners struck out, 13 times in this game, which actually is one less than the White Sox. Yeah. White Sox struck out 14 times. The Mariners struck out 13 times. So I wish I had more to say. We're going to look at, Bryce Miller's pitch mix. This is what we do. I'm just going to go a little bit on autopilot right now. Bryce Miller, 13 swing strikes on 72 pitches, 86.7 mile an hour average exit velocity. The funny thing is, when looking at the data from this game, there wasn't one thing in the data that I can say, the Mariners, pitched quite poorly. No, their pitching all was awesome. Jose Ferrer only had to throw 4 pitches, got a swinging strike, and got out of there, adding to his line of bodies. Luis Castillo, everybody's going to want to blame Luis Castillo and make this a bigger thing than it is. And yes, what does make me annoyed is the fact that Dan tried to go out there after they already had the mound visit with Pete Woodworth, and he wasn't allowed to step over that chalk. The umpire said, nope, you can't step over this chalk. You can't have another mound visit. You can't bring him out. Even though, and that was Dan trying to take him out after putting 2 guys on base in the 9th inning, to bring in Andres Munoz, who's more familiar with that situation. Luis has to stay in, even though, and he actually does punch the next batter out, Colson Montgomery. But then Andres Munoz comes in, allows 1 base hit down the line, and that loses the game for you, essentially. The White Sox tie it up, and not long after, another base hit means the White Sox take the lead, and Andres Munoz, allows 2 hits. It's going to end up, he doesn't end up with a loss. Luis Castillo does, but 1 hard hit on 54 pitches for Luis, 4 strikeouts in 2 1/3 innings, and 10 swinging strikes on 54 pitches. Luis Castillo's stuff was actually playing up in the bullpen is the worst part. And Dan thought he could, thought he could get away with leaving him out there for a little bit longer. Then he wanted to bring in Munoz, but his bet was already made in terms of, him staying out there because, because he'd already let that mound visit happen. And then you look at Dan's face after all this happens, after the White Sox take the lead in this game, and he looks as mad as I've ever seen him in that dugout. I've never seen Dan Wilson at any point, in my life, that mad. I wonder if Dan Wilson starts going with, starts saying, you know what, I will do all of your stuff you ask me analytically and platoons and, analytical bullpen usage, except for sometimes I'm just going to call it like I see it, and I'm going to give the ball, or give the at-bat to a player I trust in this moment. I am an analytics and data guy, and I do. That's who I strive to be. That's the stuff that I support, the stuff that I think has more predictive value than I trust this guy or whatever. But it says something in that clubhouse. When you're bringing Colt up and you want to show him the ropes and have him have a great culture to come into and not have to be the savior. And when you have a I mean, a team that needs to win games, right away. And I mean, I am more than most, right? I'm okay losing some games in May, having a rough May. The Mariners usually have a rough May, and they're finding out who they are. They're bringing up prospects. They're getting all their pitchers healthy or shifting things around in the rotation in the bullpen in May. I'm okay with that more than most because I know what it does for June, July, August. But June, July, August, man, the Mariners better be hot in these months. And I don't think you're going to have all your pitchers healthy, so you're probably going to have to go back to 5-man rotation. And the question isn't whether you piggyback or not. It's not whether you go 5 or 6-man rotation. That's all luxury stuff. The question is, what can the Mariners do better on individually on a night-to-night basis to come together as a team together and win games, unless they're going to make a different decision. The White Sox, I want to give some credit to them because what I see from them, it looks like they told Sir Anthony Dominguez, look, we signed you, we're paying you, $10 million this year. We basically, paid you as a closer, and we need you to be a closer, and we need to trade you at the deadline unless we're somehow competing at the deadline. So you're going to have to get in this role, and you're going to have to be there at the end. Like we need you to be a closer because we need to trade a closer, or we need a closer if somehow we're good. But Grant Taylor has been the closer. He has been the second best reliever in baseball this season behind Mason Miller, darn near. And, then maybe Dylan Lee and a couple other, holds type guys, as far as saves go, we're going to give this opportunity to Taylor right here. We're going to trust him in this spot. And, 13 pitches, no hard hits, 3 strikeouts, 4 swinging strikes. That's where you get the results. So, honestly, it's tough. Colt had, he looked good tonight again, in his at-bats. We're going to go ahead and look at specifically his at-bats. He got into the full count, a couple times. He got hit by a pitch once. He struck out 2 times. One time it was on the high fastball, which we haven't seen him swing at to this point. So, there's definitely, this guy's definitely not going to be perfect, right? He swings and misses on that for his strikeout today, or for one of his strikeouts today. He's getting thrown some cutters and some 4-seams outside right there. And, okay, so, swinging and missing at the top of the zone right there. That was his first strikeout, which was on full count. I like that he got to the full count, though. Called strike right there, called strike. There's, a foul tip. So, you'd love to see him, connect on these. But, again, this is why you give it 4 to 6 weeks, because I'm not going to rush a decision on Colt Emerson. After 4 to 6 weeks, let's see what his stats look like. Let's see how his approach looks like over the course of that time and on a night-to-night basis. Not just with one night weighing out everything else. He's 3 games into his career. He'll be all right. It's kind of funny. This is game 50. So we got 112 to go. But this was the 50th game of the season, and can't say it was the most enjoyable game. It wasn't boring. It was interesting watching this pitching matchup. Quite the pitching duel. All the stuff going on in the bleacher or in the stands, which now nobody's going to talk about. With the guys waving their shirts and stuff, the tarps off movement. I love it. I thought it was hilarious hearing all these different chants coming out. They were doing Yankee Stadium roll call at once. They were doing USA, USA. I heard some Seahawks chants. But they were cheering for the Mariners players. They were doing a Mitch Garver chant when he was up to the plate. They were doing a Castillo chant when he was in the 9th inning. When the Mariners absolutely needed him. So I thought that was all in good taste. Man, the more I analyze this game, the more it's going to wear on my mental state. I go check out Sean Collins. Again, just want to give one more shout out to him. Meeting him, going on his podcast. That should come out tomorrow morning. Talk about this game and talk about a couple other things. But yeah, you're 50 games in. You're 4 games under 500. I still think you're going to be better than the White Sox at the end of the year. Two or three wins going different directions is not going to convince me otherwise. But I am, I am going to say, like, it's frustrating. It is frustrating to watch, May baseball. I had a friend text me during April, yeah, I'm just not going to watch as much April baseball. And I was like, well, that's a little bit sad, right? That you don't want to go through the ups and downs, and you don't want, like, I love the ups and downs, but man, this is one of those downs that, um, it is legitimately tough to rebound and just move on to the next night. That being said, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. Oh, and the One to Know podcast didn't come out today, so for the first time, Don Dishes and I did not record the One to Know podcast on a Tuesday on today. Today Tuesday. It will be coming out tomorrow. We're gonna be doing it tomorrow. Stay tuned there for more news on that. I'll see you guys back tomorrow with pregame, postgame, both going to be in the daytime, and then the One to Know pod probably going to be filming tomorrow afternoon after the conclusion of this White Sox series. Which now, if we want to win a series versus the White Sox in 2026 at all, unless it happens in the playoffs, right, we have to win tomorrow. So hopefully we can. Remember, as long as you go 1-0 every pitch, stay stoic and give all glory to God, you can't lose. I'll be back tomorrow. Go M's.